Hey, we're cooking with gas here on the Jewcast.
Okay, careful using a phrase like that.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries, of a sham.
Tradition!
Oh, shut up, Carl! Shut your goddamn Jew mouth! You people are why there's war in the Middle East!
Gekakken van Jan.
Nebbig.
Ver poepoepoe.
Vermischt.
Verkakt.
Vertut.
Verstonken.
Fartig.
Exactly.
You what Grammy Hall would call a real Jew.
Oh boy, here we go again. Another exciting Jew-packed episode of American Jew. I am Jordon Ferber.
I'm Jonathan Randall, and I hope we bring the excitement. I mean, it's no Hobbs and Shaw, but it's more Jew for your buck than you thought you would get today.
It's the Jew and the Studious, I guess. I don't know how you would... Episode 27, very exciting. I always feel like we spread good Jewish news as much as we can, and we hope to hear good Jewish news from you. I know there's always nice things people have said about the Jews in history.
Yeah, there are. Should we read some? Should I read some of these quotes?
Yeah.
And do you want to try to guess who the quote is from?
Sure, let's do that. I like this.
Okay.
It's like a game now.
The hint of this quote is he's a very famous author.
Ooh.
If statistics are right, the Jews constitute but 1% of the human race. It suggests a nebulous dim puff of stardust lost in the blaze of the Milky Way. Properly, the Jew ought hardly to be heard of. But he is heard of, has always been heard of. He has as prominent on the planet as any other people, and his commercial importance is extravagantly out of proportion to the smallness of his bulk. His contributions to the world list of great names in literature, science, art, music, finance, medicine, and abstruse learning are also way out of proportion to the weakness of his numbers. He has made a marvelous fight in this world, in all the ages, and had done it with his hands tied behind him. He could be vain of himself and be excused for it. This quote is from 1899.
1899. Well, I mean, was that the Twain quote?
Yeah, Jordan nails the quote on the first guess.
Well,
very good. So hey, that's some nice things from America's most beloved authors.
Yeah,
what he's saying is true. People think the Jews are such bigger a population. I think at this point in time we make up about 5% of the population, and still it is like nothing compared to how many people are in this world. And yet the Jews are prominent. The Jews, there's such hatred towards us for such a small numbers. It is kind of significant.
Well, we do make our voices heard, not just when we're complaining about things, but while we're championing things as well.
All right, should we do another quote?
Yeah, let's hear another quote.
This is from a French mathematician from the year 16 and the 1600s.
Ooh la la.
This people are not eminent solely by their antiquity, but are also singular by their duration, which has always continued from their origin till now, in spite of the endeavors of many powerful kings who have 100 times tried to destroy them. I don't think you know a lot of French mathematicians from the 1600s, so I'm just going to tell you it's from Pascal.
Oh, Pascal, huh?
Pascal, yeah.
He of the famous wager.
May the children of the stock of Abraham who dwell in this land continue to merit and enjoy the goodwill of their inhabitants, while everyone shall sit under his own vine and fig tree, and there shall be none to make him afraid.
I mean, I'm going to guess George Washington.
Jordan, you're killing it.
Well, I do remember
my
we did talk about how Washington wrote this nice letter to the Jews about how they were allowed to stay.
It's true. You're right. All right, you ready for another one?
All right, one more.
This is from a former prime minister of Great Britain.
Okay.
Some people like the Jews, and some do not. But no thoughtful man could deny the fact that they are beyond any question the most formidable and the most remarkable race which has appeared in the world.
High praise. Even if even if you don't like us, we're pretty prominent.
What's your guess?
Well, I'm going to go Churchill.
Yeah, Jordan. Wow.
I mean, it doesn't
Can
sound
we
like
get you on Jewish Jeopardy or something. Jesus. Let's do one more. One last one.
All right, one last one.
We are told to go on living our lives as usual, because to do otherwise is to let the terrorists win. And really, what would upset the Taliban more than a gay woman wearing a suit in front of a room full of Jews.
That's obviously a more contemporary figure.
Yes, it is. It's a comedian and talk show host.
So it would be Ellen DeGeneres?
Yeah.
All right.
Hey. Jordan killed it with these quotes. So, hey, this is kind of nice. You know, these are true sentiments that, you know, the Jews, we have persevered. Say what you will about us. We are survivors. For some reason, everybody wants to hate on us. Everybody wants to try to take us down. But we, no matter what, we persevere and we thrive. We need more of that, especially in so much hatred and anti-Semitism going on everywhere in the world.
I know. We even have there's even too much hatred within our own ranks.
It's crazy, you know. People are hating on us left and right. We're dealing with anti-Semites, white supremacists, and yet we are bickering amongst ourselves. Some of the more like Reform Jews, they made more like allowances when it came to like the laws of Judaism, the halakhas, and the Orthodox Jews really look down on them for that. But they are just trying to like do what they can with what they have. And it's like, who cares? You're Jewish. Doesn't matter how religious you are, how much you believe in God, how much of the Torah you follow. We're all the sons of Abraham. We all are the descendants of the people that followed Moses through the desert for 40 years. And, you know, let's not fight amongst ourselves. There's already enough hatred coming towards us. We need to really have love towards each other.
There's so much judgment, I think, coming from the people that are so strictly religious that it makes it hard to really want to go to their side. For me, I mean, you know, I'm not
absolutely. You know, growing up in the modern Orthodox community in Miami Beach, that was a thing that really, you know, besides my father's indoctrination to Judaism, another thing that really turned me off towards Judaism was to see these members of the community judge me or my friends for things that they thought weren't appropriate when it's like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
I actually remember one time I was cornered at synagogue by a friend of mine's father, and he goes to me, who gave you permission to play baseball on Shabbat?
Ooh.
And I was like, nobody. I was like, I'm sorry. I'm like, what? Why are you talking to me right now?
I was picked first, goddammit.
Right. I mean, I remember this. I remember telling my parents it's not appropriate that I wear shorts on Shabbat and stuff like that. And it's like, shut your mouth. Like really? Like, it's none of your business. Like, who are you?
Especially if you're going to check out my legs.
So this was an interesting thing I read, that there's a study that's claiming that Hitler's father's father was a Jew.
Pretty crazy. Hitler's grandfather.
And apparently one of Hitler's relatives was trying to like blackmail him that he was going to tell everybody that his grandfather was a Jew, and Hitler had somebody look into it. And some people are saying it's true, some people are saying it's not true. But I guess apparently the father's father, he apparently impregnated this woman. They weren't married. It was an illegitimate child. And that was Hitler's father. And people are claiming that that guy was Jewish. And that was part of the reason that they're saying that he had such hatred towards the Jewish people was because he was one of them and he wanted to like get away from that.
He was one of the first self-hating Jews.
Maybe he was. Who knows? I don't know. Apparently this has been a debate, but now this new study came out and they're saying that he was Jewish. It's a little interesting thing to talk about by the Jewish water cooler.
Well, it's nice to know that, I don't know, there's really nothing nice in there, to be honest with you.
All right, well, thinking about things that aren't nice, this Sunday is Tisha B'Av, which means the 9th of Av, which is the month that we're in, the Jewish month. And it is a fast day. And it is also regarded as the saddest day in the Jewish calendar.
Oy.
And believed to be a day that is destined for tragedy. Move over Yom Kippur, Tisha B'Av's here. And I mean, both of the Beis HaMikdashes, the holy temples, they were destroyed. By the way, this is really sad. I really hope there's not a shooting that happens on this Tisha B'Av. I feel like we're almost creating a self-fulfilling prophecy with saying that there's destined to be tragedy on Tisha B'Av. But, you know, let's keep our fingers crossed.
Well, I mean, we always talk about how just having a day where we don't eat, that's always pretty tragic.
It is for me.
Right?
I mean, I'm not going to fast. Are you going to fast?
I'm not going to fast. I don't fast.
Okay. But I love breakfasts, by the way.
Well, yeah, I like a nice breakfast, no matter what, no matter what time of day we have it.
So, besides the two temples being destroyed, there were other horrible things that happened. I guess, like the First Crusades, with killing of over 10,000 Jews, happened around this day. Jews were expelled from England. Jews were expelled from France. Jews were expelled from Spain. Germany entered World War I. There's been bombings in Israel, stuff in the Gaza Strip. While the Holocaust spanned a number of years, a lot of the religious communities used Tisha B'Av to mourn the 6,000 victims of the Holocaust. I mean, what a bad day for Jews.
Well, it's actually partially, I think it actually relates quite directly to this week's Torah portion, but it's also, I think, it's about just remembering all the hardships that we've endured and remembering those that have fallen and taking a day out to be vigilant and remember without it being a particular religious holiday.
Well, now they seem like they're throwing a lot of them in, but I guess according to the Mishnah, there are these 5 specific events that occurred on this day, on the 9th of Av. So, I mean, that's a little freaky. I mean, I don't know. Maybe God's just like, let's just make them on one day.
Right. God had things to do for the rest of the year. He's like, I'm going to take care of this all in one day. Run some errands. Throw some shit at the Jews.
Yeah, apparently, that this was when God punished the Jews, and he said that you wouldn't be able to go to the promised land or something because they were all upset about entering. We talked about this a couple weeks ago that they had to wait a generation before they went to Israel.
Oh, right. All the people that
they were complaining.
Yeah. The people that had no faith in God died, and the people that did got to live.
This is the quote God saying about this event: "You cried before me pointlessly. I will fix for you this day as a day of crying for the generations," alluding to the future misfortunes which occurred on the same day. So God's not only are you going to not go to Israel, but for crying to me on this day, you're always going to cry on this day.
No, God's like, you want to cry? I'll give you something to cry about.
Yeah, the two temples then were destroyed, like we talked about. One was destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar. Also happens to be the ship in the Matrix movie. Wow, there's a little anti-Semitism in the Matrix I never realized. And then another one was destroyed by the Romans. And then the Romans also crushed some revolt, and they killed over 500,000 Jews.
Wow.
And they also plowed through a temple in Jerusalem and the surrounding areas, and then some of the other calamities that we mentioned. And the main prohibitions of Tisha B'Av are no eating or drinking, no washing or bathing, no application of cream or oils, no wearing leather, and no marital sex, or no sexual relations at all, even if you're not married. And I guess you can't use creams and oils, so there's no masturbating either, I'm assuming.
Oof, that sounds like a rough day.
So people study. I don't know. You can't sit on certain chairs. By the way, I have a memory of Tisha B'Av when I was a child that I didn't really care, and I was hiding out in one of the rooms in my house, and I had a bunch of snacks, and I was eating them, and my dad came in and he found me with all the snacks, and he took them all away, and he was so mad at me, and I got in so much trouble.
He was saving those snacks.
Yeah, he's like, don't be snacking on Tisha B'Av. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. You can only do certain things. I read that there was some weird custom about, eating, an egg with ashes.
Ugh.
I don't know. You don't wear the tefillin on the day. Anyways, it's a very sad day. A lot of bad stuff happened to the Jews. We're hoping that nothing sad happens to the Jews this weekend.
Seriously.
God knows, last weekend was a very sad weekend where there were 2 mass shootings. A member of the comedy community was senselessly murdered.
Yeah.
I had a high school friend that overdosed. May he rest in peace. Horrible weekend. I hope this weekend isn't as bad.
Right. I mean, seriously, at this point, I'm thinking about not wearing the Ides of March, but the 9th of August.
We want to, send our love and condolences to everybody that lost anybody over the weekend. We feel for you, and we're sorry for your loss.
Indeed, we are. We send all of our best wishes to those that are still among us. I got to say, going through a lot of this, the scripture stuff is somewhat depressing by itself, because there is a lot of killing and a lot of rationalization for the killing. You look at this week's Torah portion, and it's basically this week's Torah portion is just a recap of what's happened so far. It's
right.
Here's what happened last week, in case you missed it, in the Torah.
Well, it's the first book of Deuteronomy.
Right. This is the first book of Deuteronomy. So this is
So it is kind of like what you're saying. Like when there's a new season of a television show, they recap what happened in the last season.
Yeah, you want to hit all the major points so that you can get up to speed in case you didn't read numbers.
And that's exactly what is happening in this week's Parsha Devarim. And they're talking about everything that happened, the traveling in the desert, the 40 years, from Egypt to Sinai to the Promised Land, all this stuff, getting the Torah, all the beefs we had with God and everything, and how, Moses isn't actually going to go into Israel. God's a dick, basically, is the reason I think so.
Right.
And passes it on to his successor, Joshua, to take the people to land in Israel.
I mean, basically.
And he says, fear them not, for the Lord your God, he shall fight for you.
Right.
Unless you piss, then he will fight against you.
So basically, he's telling the people that were really young when they started wandering in the desert, your parents and your grandparents died, and this is why.
Right.
He's basically giving them the reasons why they were spared. He's basically making sure that the story is as God's told him, and putting any other rumors to rest, I would imagine.
I guess maybe he's also trying to be like, listen, guys, don't make the same mistakes that we did.
Right.
What happened?
I don't know. I don't know what you guys heard happened out in the desert, but here's the real story.
Anyways, so God decreed that the entire generation of Exodus would die out in the desert. Also against me, says Moses, was God angry for your sake, saying, you too shall not go in there.
Moses dies shortly after this, right? It says this all happens 37 days.
No spoilers till next week.
The Devarim in a nutshell starts with a spoiler.
Oh, yeah, 37 days before his passing.
Seriously, that's quite the spoiler right there. I would want to skip ahead.
I guess we'll find out.
I'm just saying, like, literally, if the Torah was a Netflix program, we would have skipped this for sure.
Yes, for sure. I don't want to see the recap.
Skip intro.
Absolutely.
Well, we thank you guys for not skipping the intro on this one, which we
hope that your Tisha B'Av isn't super sad.
Seriously. Send us an email if you'd like, AmericanJewPodcast@gmail.com.
Check us out on Instagram @AmericanJewPodcast. Check me out on Instagram @Jonathan Randall. We want to thank everybody that's listening, that follows us, that makes comments. We really appreciate you guys.
Yeah, it's always nice to know that we're not the only ones out here talking about some of this stuff. And, hopefully we do a pretty good job of boiling down some of the facts and some of the ideas that are unfamiliar to us. So if we're doing a bad job, let us know how we could do better.
Learning something new as well.
Yeah. Well, that's it from us, guys. We will be here next week.